Did you ever wonder what really happened that night? Could the truth be more shocking than fiction? What if everything we thought we knew about these iconic stars' final moments was wrong? Number 6. Marilyn Monroe. Was it really just an overdose? The stunning blonde bombshell who captured America's heart left this world under circumstances that continue to perplex investigators and fans alike. On that fateful night of August 4, 1962, Marilyn Monroe was found dead in her Brentwood home, face down on her bed with an empty bottle of sleeping pills nearby. The official cause of death was listed as probable suicide due to barbiturate overdose. But many questions remained unanswered. Marilyn had been making phone calls just hours before her death. She sounded coherent and had plans for the next day. Her housekeeper, Eunice Murray, gave conflicting accounts about when she discovered the body. Initially stating she found Monroe around midnight, she later changed her story, claiming it was much earlier. Why the inconsistency? Then there's the issue of the missing evidence. No glass of water was found in Marilyn's room, despite the fact she would have needed water to swallow all those pills. Her diary, which she wrote in faithfully, mysteriously disappeared after her death and has never been recovered. The autopsy revealed no pill residue in her stomach, raising questions about how the drugs entered her system. Monroe's connections to powerful figures added fuel to the conspiracy theories. Her rumored affairs with both President John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert Kennedy put her in a potentially dangerous position. She allegedly knew political secrets and had threatened to go public. Phone records indicate Robert Kennedy was in Los Angeles the day of her death, despite initial denials. Former Los Angeles County Prosecutor John Miner, who was present at Monroe's autopsy, claimed he heard secret tapes Monroe had recorded for her psychiatrist. On these tapes, according to Miner, Monroe sounded hopeful about her future and discussed plans for upcoming projects. Not the words of someone contemplating suicide. The possibility of murder has been floated by numerous investigators over the decades. Was it a politically motivated hit to silence her? Did the mob arrange her death to strike back at the Kennedys? Or was it truly a tragic case of accidental or intentional overdose by a troubled star? 6 decades later, we may never know the full truth of what happened to the woman who remains one of Hollywood's most enduring icons. Number 5. Bruce Lee. How could someone so fit die so young? Bruce Lee's sudden death at age 32 shocked the world and spawned decades of speculation. The official cause, cerebral edema, swelling of the brain. But what really happened on July 20, 1973, in Hong Kong? Bruce Lee was visiting the apartment of actress Betty Ting Pei to discuss their upcoming film, Game of Death. Complaining of a headache, Lee took a prescription painkiller called Equadzic. He then lay down for a nap and never woke up. The coroner ruled the death by misadventure, attributing it to an allergic reaction to the medication that caused his brain to swell. But for many, this explanation never satisfied. Lee was known for his extraordinary physical condition and disciplined lifestyle. How could a simple painkiller kill him? Various theories emerged in the vacuum of a complete explanation. Some believe Lee was poisoned by triad gangsters for refusing to pay protection money. Others claim he fell victim to a dim Mac or death touch, a strike to pressure points that causes delayed death, delivered by a martial arts rival jealous of his success in revealing Chinese martial arts to Westerners. Another theory points to heat stroke. July in Hong Kong is brutally hot and humid, and Lee had had his underarm sweat glands surgically removed because he disliked how sweat marks looked on camera. This procedure could have compromised his body's ability to regulate temperature. A 2018 biography suggested that Lee's death resulted from overexertion. The author argued that Lee pushed himself too hard, causing his brain to swell from exhaustion. Medical experts have since suggested that Lee may have suffered from cerebral hypersensitivity to certain compounds in the medication. Adding to the mystery, Bruce's son Brandon Lee died under equally strange circumstances 20 years later while filming The Crow, when a prop gun that supposedly contained blanks fired a real bullet. The Lee family curse theory gained traction, with some suggesting both deaths were orchestrated by the same forces. Whatever the truth, Bruce Lee's legacy as a martial arts pioneer and cultural icon only grew stronger after his death. His philosophy of "be water, my friend" continues to inspire millions. But the questions remain: was it really just an allergic reaction? Or was there something more sinister behind the death of the little dragon? Number 4. Natalie Wood. What happens when a star who's afraid of water drowns mysteriously? Natalie Wood's death remains one of Hollywood's most perplexing tragedies. The three-time Oscar nominee, known for classics like Rebel Without a Cause and West Side Story, drowned near California's Catalina Island on November 29, 1981. She was just 43 years old. Wood was spending the Thanksgiving weekend on her yacht, the Splendor, with her husband Robert Wagner, actor Christopher Walken, and the boat's captain, Dennis Davern. According to the initial reports, Wood had gone to bed, and when Wagner later checked on her, he discovered she and the yacht's dinghy were missing. Her body was found the next morning floating in the water, with the dinghy found beached nearby. The coroner initially ruled her death an accidental drowning, suggesting she may have slipped while trying to board the dinghy. But the circumstances never quite added up. Wood was known to be terrified of dark water, a fear that stemmed from childhood. Friends confirmed she would never have attempted to leave the yacht alone at night, especially in her nightgown and socks, as she was found. Witnesses on a nearby boat reported hearing a woman crying for help around midnight. The captain, Dennis Davern, later changed his story, claiming that Wagner and Wood had a heated argument that night. He alleged that Wagner was jealous of Wood's relationship with Walken and that after Wood went missing, Wagner delayed calling for help. Wood's body had bruises, which the initial investigation attributed to her efforts to climb back aboard after falling into the water. However, the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office changed the cause of death from accidental drowning to drowning and other undetermined factors in 2012, noting that the bruises on her body appeared to have occurred before she entered the water. The case was reopened in 2011, and in 2018, Wagner was named as a person of interest. Investigators cited his changing accounts of that night and his refusal to speak to detectives handling the new inquiry. The yacht's captain has openly accused Wagner of being responsible for Wood's death, though Wagner maintains his innocence. What really happened that night on the Splendor? Did Natalie Wood really try to leave the yacht alone, despite her fear of water? Was her death truly an accident, or was something more sinister at play? With key witnesses aging or deceased, the complete truth about that November night may remain forever lost at sea, just like the vibrant star herself. Number 3. George Reeves. Can a rising star really shoot himself by accident? George Reeves, television's original Superman, was found dead from a gunshot wound to the head in his Benedict Canyon home on June 16, 1959. He was 45 years old. The official ruling was suicide, but numerous factors have led many to question this conclusion. Reeves had been typecast as Superman after starring in the hit TV series Adventures of Superman from 1952 to 1958. Though the role brought him fame, it limited his career options. Still, at the time of his death, things seemed to be looking up. He had just returned from a successful personal appearance tour and was planning to marry his fiancée, Leonore Lemmon, the following week. He had directing opportunities lined up and seemed optimistic about his future. On the night of his death, Reeves was hosting a small, late-night gathering at his home with Lemmon and a few friends. According to witnesses, Reeves excused himself, went upstairs to his bedroom, and moments later, a gunshot rang out. The partygoers didn't immediately check on him, allegedly thinking he might be playing a prank or had fired the gun to make a point about their noisy behavior. When they finally went upstairs, they found Reeves dead from a single bullet wound to his head. The Luger pistol that killed him was found between his feet on the floor. There were no fingerprints on the gun, not even Reeves' own, which investigators attributed to the gun's oil having been wiped away. Several aspects of the case troubled investigators and continue to fuel speculation. Reeves had bruises on his face that couldn't be explained by the gunshot. The bullet that killed him was found embedded in the ceiling, meaning the gun was pointed upward rather than directly at his temple, an unusual angle for suicide. No gunpowder residue was found on his hands, and witnesses gave conflicting statements about the events of that night. Adding to the intrigue was Reeves' complicated love life. He had recently ended a long-term relationship with Toni Mannix, wife of MGM studio executive Eddie Mannix, to be with Lemon. Eddie Mannix had alleged mob connections, and Toni was reportedly devastated by the breakup. 3 theories persist: suicide, accidental death, or murder. The suicide theory suggests the typecast actor saw no way out of his Superman image. The accident theory proposes that Reeves, known to be casual with firearms, might have been recklessly handling the gun. The murder theory points to either a crime of passion by Lemon during an argument or a hit arranged by the Mannixes as revenge. The 2006 film Hollywoodland, starring Ben Affleck as Reeves, explored these various possibilities without offering a definitive answer. Was the Man of Steel's death a tragic suicide, a terrible accident, or something more sinister? The truth, like Superman himself, may have flown beyond our reach. Number 2. Judy Garland. Was it really an accidental overdose? Or the tragic end to years of Hollywood exploitation? Judy Garland, the beloved star of The Wizard of Oz, was found dead in the bathroom of her London home on June 22, 1969. She was just 47 years old, though her body had endured far more than those years would suggest. The official cause of death was listed as an incautious self-overdosage of barbiturates, with the coroner stating that there was no evidence to suggest suicide. The autopsy revealed she had taken 10 Seconal pills, but not enough to indicate an intentional overdose. Her death was ruled accidental, yet questions lingered about the circumstances that led this icon to such a tragic end. Garland's struggles with substance abuse began in her early Hollywood days, not by choice but by studio mandate. As a teenage performer at MGM, she was given amphetamines to maintain her energy and barbiturates to help her sleep, creating a dependency that would haunt her for life. Studio executives also put her on strict diets, constantly criticized her weight, and worked her to exhaustion. By the time of her death, Garland had endured 5 failed marriages, financial troubles, and a career of devastating highs and lows. Her final husband, Mickey Deans, found her body that morning, slumped on the bathroom floor. Some reports suggest that rigor mortis had already set in, indicating she had been dead for several hours. What makes many question the accidental nature of her death was the history of previous suicide attempts. Garland had reportedly tried to take her life on numerous occasions, often described as cries for help rather than determined efforts. Friends described her as being in a particularly dark place in her final weeks, though others claimed she was making plans for the future. Her daughter Liza Minnelli once commented, "Mama died from chemicals, not because she didn't want to live anymore." This perspective frames Garland's death not as a deliberate exit but as the final consequence of a lifetime of substance dependency that began when the studio system viewed her as a commodity rather than a vulnerable child. Some theories suggest Garland may have lost count of how many pills she had taken that night, a common occurrence for those with long-term substance issues. Others speculate that her body, weakened by years of substance abuse and the physical toll of her demanding performance schedule, simply couldn't process even a normally manageable dose. The debate about whether Judy Garland intended to end her life or accidentally took too many pills may never be resolved. Perhaps the more important question is how the bright-eyed girl from Grand Rapids, Minnesota, who just wanted to sing and dance, ended up alone in a London bathroom, her body betrayed by the very industry that made her a star. Was her death truly accidental, or was it the inevitable conclusion to a life where others controlled her body and mind from an early age? Number 1. Elvis Presley. Did the king really die from prescription drugs? Or is there more to the story of music's most iconic death? On August 16, 1977, Elvis Presley was found unconscious on his bathroom floor at Graceland by his girlfriend, Ginger Alden. Despite efforts to revive him, he was pronounced dead at Baptist Memorial Hospital in Memphis. He was just 42 years old. The official cause of death was listed as cardiac arrhythmia, but the autopsy report revealed a cocktail of prescription medications in his system. The medical examiner found evidence that Presley's system contained 14 different drugs, including powerful painkillers, tranquilizers, and sedatives. His personal physician, Dr. George Nishapoulos, known as Dr. Nick, had prescribed over 10,000 doses of sedatives, amphetamines, and narcotics to Elvis in the 8 months preceding his death. Elvis's health had been deteriorating for years. He suffered from glaucoma, high blood pressure, liver damage, and an enlarged colon. His weight had ballooned, and he struggled with insomnia, which led to increased medication use. The image of the vibrant young rock star had given way to a bloated, unwell man who sometimes forgot lyrics on stage. Yet questions about his death persist. Some medical experts have suggested that Elvis suffered from a genetic heart condition that contributed to his death, possibly undiagnosed during his lifetime. Others point to his well-documented prescription drug dependency as the primary factor. The combination of his poor physical condition and the powerful medications created a perfect storm. The circumstances surrounding the discovery of his body have also raised eyebrows. There was a significant delay between finding Elvis unconscious and calling an ambulance. Some household staff reported unusual activity at Graceland that day, with documents being removed from Elvis's personal office. The full autopsy report was sealed by the Presley family and won't be released until 2027, 50 years after his death. Conspiracy theories abound, of course. The most persistent being that Elvis never died at all but faked his death to escape the pressures of fame. Alleged sightings of the king have been reported for decades, from grocery store checkout lines to remote gas stations. While these claims have been debunked repeatedly, they speak to fans' inability to accept the ignoble end of such a larger-than-life figure. More grounded theories question whether Elvis might have died from a different cause than what was officially reported. Some suggest a cover-up to protect his legacy from the stigma of drug dependency, while others propose that underlying health conditions were the true culprit. Dr. Nick, who lost his medical license in the 1990s for overprescribing, maintained that he was trying to help Elvis by controlling his access to drugs that the star would otherwise obtain illicitly. Was Elvis a victim of the pressures of fame that drove him to self-medicate? Did the medical professionals around him fail in their duty of care? Or was his death simply the result of a combination of poor health choices and possibly genetic factors? As the sealed records approach their release date, will we finally learn the full truth about what happened to the boy from Tupelo who changed music forever? What secrets do these Hollywood legends take to their graves? How many questions will remain forever unanswered? And what does our fascination with these tragic endings tell us about ourselves?